Today, I'm going to interrogate a Tesla owner about the top 5 most Googled questions about owning a Tesla that I could find on the internet. How long does it take to charge a Tesla?
So this question is one of my favorite things to answer for people because, in my opinion, this is what people get wrong the most and why they're most apprehensive to buy an electric car in the first place. And, because with a gas car, you imagine, okay, you're going to a public, we'll call it a fueling station, so we can be generic between gas and electric. You're going to a public fueling station. You have to go in between like your errands or after work or something like that, and then that's how you fill up, right? And then so people naturally assume that that's the same way it's going to work for an electric car. You have to go to a public station, but it just is the same process, but just takes longer.
Right.
Not true. With an electric car, on a daily basis, you're just fueling up while you're sleeping. You get home after a day of work or running errands or whatever. You get home, you plug it in, you go to bed, you're done. So just want to preface this question, or the answer to this question, just by saying, yes, it takes longer. However, you're asleep while it's charging, with the exception of a road trip where it is a lot faster because you're supercharging. So to answer the question, it takes about, for a home charger, because my home charger, we have the 240 volt outlet in our garage, and we use a juice box charger it's for my car and then also for my dad's car. And so the juice box charges my car at about 9 kilowatts, which means that on average, I'm only really topping off my car every day. So filling up maybe the last 20%, which takes maybe 2.5 hours, but it doesn't matter because I'm in bed.
Right.
So that's the answer to that question. And then when you're on a road trip, Kyler and I were on a road trip a couple of months ago. Woo! It was a lot of fun. And the charging, I mean, you were there. It was like super easy, super fun. Yeah. We had to stop when the car had to stop anyways. We charged for 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah, maybe. And we charged extra every time too.
Yeah,
so.
we did. Because the car was typically ready before we were. So I say, at the most, you're looking at like a 25-minute stop on a road trip after like 300 miles of driving. So, I mean, you're going to be stopping anyways. And like I said, car's probably going to be ready before you are.
Here's an interesting one, as it's probably the most expensive thing to replace if it does fail. How long does a Tesla battery last?
This is a question that is concerning for a lot of people who are looking to buy an electric car because they want a car that saves them a lot of money, but also is going to last them for a long time, right? So the battery so I own the Model 3. So in the Tesla Model 3, the battery is rated for about 1,500 charging cycles, according to Elon Musk, the CEO himself. So for a shorter range Tesla, so maybe like the rear wheel drive version, you're looking at about 300,000 miles. For something like the long range that I have, it could be up to about 500,000 miles. Another thing really important to note when it comes to charging cycles is how you're charging most often. So what I mean by that is kind of like we were talking about in one of the previous questions, we charge a lot at home. Some people charge a lot at superchargers. Maybe you don't have a home charger. So home charging, when you're doing AC charging, that's typically the alternating current charging at home. That's going to be a lot better for the battery pack's longevity, so just the overall battery health. And so with that AC charging, yeah, you can get up to these high 300,000 to 500,000 miles. But if you're supercharging like every single day, all the time, which is, like I said, it's only meant for really road trips, you might only get like 150,000 miles out of your battery, maybe 200,000 if you're lucky. So it's just something to consider. But if you do like a little bit of a mixture of both, maybe 80% of home charging at AC and 20% road trip charging with supercharger with DC fast charging, you're going to probably get like that 300,000 mile range.
Nice. So a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
How much would it cost to replace the battery when it does die?
Yeah, so looking up some stats here, for something like a Model S, it's going to be more expensive. So you're going to be looking at like $13,000 to $20,000, which is pretty expensive. But when you think about it, the cars are almost $100,000, and replacing the battery, because there's like no moving parts in the car, replacing the battery is kind of like replacing most of the car.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get a fresh car for that amount of money, which is kind of cool in my opinion. But for something like the Tesla Model 3, like I own, it's going to be typically around $13,000.
Okay.
I've seen it as cheap as $8,000 for some of the older models too. So not too bad to get pretty much a whole new car in a lot of cases.
And I mean, that makes sense because there's not a lot of other things that you're replacing in the car, typically.
Windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah. That blinker fluid.
Dude,
gotta get it.
The blinker fluid is pretty expensive for the Teslas. I'm not going to go into how much that costs.
Yeah, and it's on the up too. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like 3 times more than it used to be.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, hey, I've always been wondering this.
Yeah.
Will a Tesla pay for itself? I'm just kind of curious, thinking of buying one.
I would say short answer, no. I mean, they're definitely low maintenance cars, but depending on which model you get, you might be paying a lot of money per month anyways, just because it's not a super cheap car.
Gotcha.
They're definitely coming down in price. It seems like almost every day sometimes. So yeah, this is the dual motor, and this one costs me about $800 a month. And so with the gas savings and the fact that there's almost no maintenance, it's pretty awesome. However, it's still a pretty high monthly payment. I think you can get pretty close to paying for itself after a few years with maybe the rear-wheel drive model, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, you got it.
Oh, hey, is this your car?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering, can this run on gas?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hey,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to charge a Tesla?
Oh, that's a really good question. A lot of people like to know the answer to that. So home charging, it's about 10 to 15 cents per kilowatt hour here in New York.
Okay.
So I'm probably charge it from 10 to 80% charge, about $5 to $10 to fill up.
What if I'm
at home.
supercharging?
If you're supercharging on a road trip, it's gonna be more. Usually like 15 to 20, maybe even $25 on a road trip. Because that's usually, especially in New York, about 38 cents to 40 cents a kilowatt hour.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.